If we're ready to get started, we're going to get right to it. We're going to give a little bit of a description of what happened, what we know now. Obviously, it's early in the investigation, and we'll update you throughout the day as we learn more about what happened, but we won't take many questions, and we want you to stay on topic as much as you can. Thank you very much. So at 8:27 a.m. this morning, our officers responded to a domestic call. So a domestic disturbance in the 12th district at 1342 West Taylor Street. As officers arrived, they got on the elevator, went upstairs, and as soon as they got off the elevator to go to the apartment, they were fired upon by the offender, who we have in custody. We have recovered a gun. Our officers did not fire their weapons. Responding with our officer is a University of Illinois at Chicago police officer who was monitoring our radio, and as the officers came back downstairs to get the wounded officer to the hospital, the University of Illinois at Chicago officer helped transport him in his squad car here, likely saving his life. Again, we do have an offender in custody. We have recovered a gun. Our officer is in serious condition with multiple gunshot wounds. And I'll have the mayor come up, but before she does, I just want to highlight the difficulties and dangers of being a police officer in this country. It hadn't been more dangerous in decades. But it also highlights the bravery and courage that our officers exhibit every day, to include their dedication and commitment to protecting the people of Chicago. And with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor and come back for any questions.
Let me start where the superintendent left off. Every single day, on every watch, brave men and women of the Chicago Police Department put on their uniform, their badge, and go out to protect each and every one of us. We have to remember that officers every single day are risking their lives for our safety, and today underscores that. I will also say this: we have seen over the last 2 years a significant surge in domestic violence related calls, but also domestic violence related homicides and shootings. And let me just share a few statistics with you. Domestic related homicides by firearm and non-fatal shootings have increased 125% since 2019. DV non-fatal shootings have increased by 80% just over the last 2 years alone. And domestic-related homicides are up 23.5% compared to this time last year. I think this brings a very sobering set of context to what our officers are facing every single day. Somebody calls into 911, it gets coded as a domestic-related call. Obviously, the call takers and dispatchers are asking all the necessary questions, but as we saw today, you never know what happens until you get on the scene. And so we've got to make sure that we're addressing this surge, and I urge you in the media to talk about the fact that there has been this unbelievable increase in domestic violence-related homicides and shootings. It is a huge public health and public safety issue, which we're working diligently to address. But we have a long way to go as a society in understanding the danger to people in the household, the danger to our police, but the danger to ordinary residents when domestic violence happens inside of a household. The other thing that we know is that children that grow up in those circumstances themselves are more likely to be involved in domestic violence-related crimes down the road. This is a major challenge that we must meet as a community, not this police alone, not the mayor's office alone. This is an issue that we've got to reach and meet as a community. There are a huge number of advocates that are out there all across our city who stand ready to aid people that are suffering from domestic violence. And I would just urge, if you are someone who's living in a house where you are not safe, please call 311. There is somebody on the other end of the line that is there, that is ready to help you get out of a dangerous circumstances, provide you with support, with transport, with lodging, so you, and if you have children, can live a safe life. But our police officers are valiant every single day, and we need to make sure that we remember that and that we thank them. And with that, we'll take a limited set of questions.
Mariano, from University, go ahead.
Mayor, maybe Sup can answer too. We've heard that the perpetrator is a person that has mental health issues and that he slits his wrists when people's officers get caught by the police.
So we do have some information regarding the offender. He is a convicted felon. We don't have any type of diagnosis whether or not he has any mental health challenges. There is an injury to the offender's wrist, but that's all we know at this point about the offender.
Marissa Morrow?
You said this is a domestic situation between boyfriend, girlfriend. What's the status on the girlfriend?
Yeah, so there's no other injuries to anyone in the home that we responded to, but we're continuing the investigation.
Gaynor?
Can you talk about the officer who was injured? Is it a male officer? How long has he been on the force?
We're going to talk very briefly about the officer because the family is still being notified. We have notified immediate family, but there's some other family that hadn't been notified. So he is a male officer. He has multiple gunshot wounds. He has 15 years on the police department. He's recovering, but more importantly, I'm just asking all of you on the media to share. We are asking for prayers for this family, for this officer and his family, and we're hoping and praying for a full recovery.
Andy Grimm?
Any charges yet? Do you expect this guy to be in bond?
It's too early to tell right now, but we're continuing to work the investigation. We have a lot of work to do on the scene. Charges are pending, but we have the offender in custody, who we believe wounded our officer with gunfire, but we are continuing to investigate and see if there's any other offenders on scene that participated.
Fire
Can you tell
from
us anything
ABC.
about the mass shooting last night?
We want to stay on topic. We'll give an update later on that mass shooting. We don't have anyone in custody on that shooting. We have 2 people who were shot and killed from that scene. The other 3 were injured. There was a personal argument that led to the shooting, and we'll update you later in today as we learn more about last night.
Meyer, last question, ABC.
Hey, can you mention how many people were in that home that they were responding to, and if there's any?
We're still determining that, but at least 2 other people were in the home, but we're still determining if there were others.
Thank you very much.
I think she had a question down there.
Were any CIT officers dispatched?
Excuse me?
Were any CIT officers dispatched?
No, not at this time. The shooting happened as soon as the officers got out the elevator, so there was no time to get any other officers out there. We tried to get this officer to the hospital as soon as possible to hopefully save his life, and that's exactly what happened. Thank you all very much.
Do you know the age of the gun? You said that the offender had injuries to the wrist. Were they taken to the hospital or no?
Yes, they're at the hospital being treated.
This one?
No, not this one.
Age on the offender?
We don't have that. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Anytime, guys.